The hands that once threw stones at you now tremble with regret, for they built the throne they never wanted you to sit on. Chosen one, they never expected you to rise. They buried you under their lies, hoping you'd rot in the darkness they created. But they forgot one thing: you are not like them. They are weeds that wither under pressure. You are a seed that cracks open and grows into something unstoppable. Every attack they launched, every betrayal they schemed, every whispered lie was meant to be your grave. But the universe had other plans. You didn't just survive. You transformed into the storm they never saw coming. And now, the echoes of their actions haunt them, louder than they ever imagined. They thought they could break you, that their deceit and cruelty would crush your spirit. But you turned their knives into stepping stones. Every wound they inflicted became a lesson, every scar a mark of resilience. And now, as you stand taller than ever, they sit in the shadows of their own regret, suffocating under the weight of their own betrayal. Chosen one, listen to me. Thank you. Yes, you. Thank you for staying with this message. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button below. And you know what? Being chosen comes with a responsibility, a duty to spread the truth, to awaken those still trapped in the lies of their enemies. Right now, you have the power to make sure this message reaches every chosen one. Simply press the like button under this video and signal the algorithm that this truth must be heard. The world tried to silence us, but they failed. Now, it's time to rise. Help awaken more chosen ones. Like, subscribe, and share this message. Every time you do, the universe aligns and the algorithm moves. More warriors are reached, more lost souls are guided home. Let the truth spread like wildfire. So, they never thought the day would come when they would fear your presence. Their arrogance made them believe you were beneath them, disposable, easy to erase. But now, every step you take is a thunderclap in their world. Every breath you take in victory suffocates them further in the grave they dug for you. They cannot escape it. The universe has turned their own cruelty into a cage, locking them inside their own torment. Their regret is a ghost that follows them, whispering your name in the silence, making them relive their sins over and over again. They see you in their nightmares, a relentless reminder of what they tried to destroy but failed. They hear your success in the wind. They feel your presence in every shadow. Their minds are a battlefield, and they are losing the war against their own conscience. Regret is a disease with no cure, and they are infected beyond saving. They wanted you to beg. They wanted you to break. But now they are the ones on their knees, crushed under the weight of their own deeds. The same mouths that spread lies about you are now too ashamed to speak your name. The same hands that tried to tear you down now tremble at the thought of facing you. The same minds that conspired against you are now tormented by the realization that they lost and you won. And what's worse, there is no escape for them. You walked through the fire and came out indestructible. But them, they are trapped in the flames of their own making, burning in the agony of knowing they can never undo what they did. They wish they could take it all back, erase their mistakes, rewrite the past where they never underestimated you. But it's too late. The universe has marked them. The weight of their actions has chained them to a fate they cannot run from. You don't need revenge. Your existence is enough to destroy them. They see you now, stronger, wiser, untouchable, and that is the true punishment. They don't get the satisfaction of your downfall. Instead, they are forced to witness your rise every single day. That is the price of their betrayal. That is the suffering they must endure. And the worst part? They did it to themselves. So stand tall, chosen one. Be the storm that washes away the weak. Walk with power, knowing that your existence alone is the justice they can never escape. Their regret is loud, their suffering is eternal, and you are untouchable. And now, let's break it down step by step. And trust me, if you are a true chosen one, you'll feel it. The pull, the energy, the undeniable force keeping you here. This message was meant for you, and every second you stay, another piece of the puzzle will fall into place. Don't look away now, because what comes next will change everything. Number 1. The fire that should have burned you now scorches them. They mocked your light until it exposed their darkness. Now they run, but there's nowhere left to hide. Chosen one, you were never just another person in the crowd. You were a force, an anomaly, a disruption to everything they built in deception. When they first encountered you, they expected another easy target. Someone who would bow to their manipulation, crumble under their tactics, and fall like all the others before you. But what they found was something they had never faced before, a presence too powerful to control, too pure to corrupt, too strong to break. They felt it immediately. Your energy hit them like a storm, something raw, something real, and it terrified them. Why? Because their entire existence is built on illusion, on lies, on control, and your presence alone threatened all of it. The moment they crossed your path, everything changed, not just for you, but for them, for the unseen forces around you, for the very balance of the universe itself. The sun does not apologize for shining, and neither should you. They wanted you to dim your light, to doubt yourself, to shrink, so they could feel powerful in your presence. But instead, your energy did something they never expected. It exposed them. It peeled away their masks, revealing every insecurity, every fear, every hidden weakness they thought they had buried deep. That is the power of being chosen. You don't even have to fight them. Your very existence is the battle they were never prepared for. And now they are left with only two choices: run from you or destroy themselves, trying to bring you down. Because when darkness meets light, there is no middle ground. But maybe you're asking yourself, why does my presence shake them so much? Why does my energy disturb them so deeply? It's simple. They have spent their entire lives feeding off weakness, thriving in deception, surviving through control. And then you appeared. Someone who cannot be manipulated, who cannot be controlled, who cannot be broken. You are the mirror they never wanted to face, the reflection of everything they fear they will never become. A liar fears the truth more than the sword, and you are both. Understand this, chosen one. You were not sent here to blend in. You were sent here to disrupt, to shift the balance, to break generational chains, to bring an energy this world has never seen before. That is why they fear you. That is why they resent you. That is why they tried to destroy you before you even knew your own power. But here's the truth they are choking on. They failed. They thought they could silence you, but your voice only grew louder. They thought they could bury you, but you rose from the dirt, stronger than ever. They thought they could erase you, but now your presence haunts them, lingers in their thoughts, burns in their regrets. And the most terrifying part for them, they can never undo what has already been done. They have already encountered your energy, and that encounter changed them forever. They are no longer at peace, no longer in control, no longer able to move through life without the weight of knowing they stood before something greater than themselves, and they lost. Some wounds never heal, and for them, the deepest one is realizing they could never break you. So don't ever question your presence, chosen one. Don't ever doubt why people react to you the way they do. The whispers, the jealousy, the resentment, the fear. It was never about you personally. It was about the undeniable power that you carry. You didn't ask for this war, but you were born into it. And now, you stand undefeated. The universe placed something inside you that cannot be replicated, cannot be stolen, cannot be destroyed. That is your greatest weapon, your shield, your fire. And for them, that fire is now their greatest torment. Because no matter where they go, no matter what they do, no matter how hard they try to pretend it never happened, they will always remember the day they stood before you and realized they were powerless. They thought they were the hunters, but now they realize they were just prey that mistook itself for a predator. Keep walking, Chosen One. Let your presence burn through their illusions. You don't need to fight them. Your existence is already their downfall. Number 2, they played with fire, not knowing it was you who controlled the flames. They thought they were the storm, but they had no idea you were the lightning. Chosen One, do you understand what you've done? What your presence alone has set in motion? This was never just about survival. This was never just about you making it through the chaos. This was about transformation on a level they cannot comprehend. The moment you stepped into the picture, you disrupted the balance. You weren't sent here to blend in. You were sent to shift the entire structure. They thought they were in control, that they could manipulate, deceive, and move through life unnoticed. But then you arrived, and suddenly, everything they built on lies began to collapse. They felt the ground shake beneath them, the weight of their own darkness pressing down. Why? Because your energy forced a change. The moment light enters the room, darkness has only 2 choices: adapt or disappear. They never saw it coming. They expected another lost soul, another mind they could twist, another spirit they could break. Instead, they met something unshakable. They met you. And now, they are unraveling under the weight of that realization. Because what you did wasn't just about you. It was about everything around you. It was about the unseen forces, the energy shifts, the universal balance realigning itself. They don't even understand why they feel so unsettled, why they suddenly feel exposed, weak, powerless. But you do, because you were never just another person passing through their world. You were the storm that changed its very nature. And now they are left with a choice: evolve or be destroyed. Some wounds don't bleed, they just burn, and the fire you ignited in them will never stop consuming their illusions. Maybe you've questioned your purpose. Maybe you've wondered why your presence creates such strong reactions, why people either gravitate toward you with intensity or pull away in fear, why you walk into a room and the energy shifts. It's because you were never neutral. You were never meant to be unnoticed. The light you carry doesn't just exist, it demands transformation. Everything in its presence must shift, must adjust, must either grow or be burned away. That is the power you hold, Chosen One. That is what makes you dangerous to them, because they spent their lives feeding off manipulation, off control, off keeping others blind. But you walk with the kind of clarity that terrifies them. You see through deception, you unravel illusions, you expose what was meant to stay hidden. You weren't just in their world, you became the force that shattered it. A false empire crumbles the moment truth walks through its gates. So, don't doubt for a second why you are here. Don't ever shrink yourself to make them comfortable. You weren't placed here to exist in the shadows. You were sent to be the flame that forces them to face what they've spent their lives avoiding. You weren't meant to be liked by those who thrive in darkness. You were meant to remind them that darkness will never win. That's why they tried to stop you before you even realized your own power. That's why they attacked, why they betrayed, why they tried to make you doubt yourself. Because if you ever truly recognized what you are, they knew they wouldn't stand a chance. And now it's too late. They tried to break you, not realizing that pressure only creates diamonds. Now they choke on their own regret while you shine. Look at what you've become, unshaken, unbreakable. They thought they were destroying you, but they were only sharpening your edge. And now they're left with nothing but the wreckage of their own choices, while you continue to rise. That is the reality of being chosen. You are not just here to exist. You are here to shift reality itself. You are here to remind even the most lost, the most corrupt, the most deceived, that there is something greater, something they will never understand, something they will never possess. And now they are haunted by it. Some nightmares don't come from the dark. Some nightmares wear a face, walk in daylight, and remind you of everything you could never be. You are that nightmare to them. So embrace your role, walk boldly. Let them feel the weight of what they tried to fight. Let them drown in the realization that the power they feared is now the power they cannot escape. Because the moment they met you, their world changed forever. And now they live in the aftermath of a battle they already lost. Keep walking, chosen one. The fire they feared is the fire that will never be extinguished. Number 3. They came to hunt, but became the prey. A wolf that preys on the weak will never understand the terror of meeting something stronger. Chosen one, they had a plan. They had done this before, countless times. Manipulate, deceive, destroy. It was a formula that had never failed them. They walked through life as the hunter, always certain of their power, always knowing that the weak would crumble before them. But then you happened, and suddenly everything changed. They thought this would be like every other time, that you would fall into their web, that fear would paralyze you, that doubt would consume you, that you would react exactly how they wanted. But instead, they encountered something they couldn't explain. They encountered you. Some storms do not shake the mountain. Some flames do not consume the fireproof. You did not respond the way they expected. You did not beg. You did not break. You did not give them the chaos they needed to feed off. Instead, you stood still, unshaken, untouched by the games they played so well. And that terrified them. Because for the first time, they were the ones uncertain. The one thing they had always counted on, control, was slipping from their hands. The presence they had always dominated suddenly felt like it was dominating them. How? How could someone like you not crumble? They replayed their actions, searching for where they went wrong. But the truth is, you were never meant to be their victim. They had destroyed many before you, left them in ruins, fed off their suffering, walked away without a second thought. But you were different. They thought you were a candle in the wind, but you were the wildfire they couldn't outrun. They tried everything, the lies, the manipulation, the attacks, every trick they had used before, and yet nothing worked. You moved differently. You spoke differently. You didn't fall into the chaos they created. You didn't break under the pressure they applied. And that shattered them. They never thought about what would happen if they met someone stronger than the game they played. They never prepared for what it would feel like to meet someone who didn't fear them. And now they are spiraling. A master of illusions only thrives when no one sees the trick. But you saw right through them. Their entire world is built on deception, on controlling the narrative, on making sure their prey never realizes the truth. But you walked in and saw everything. And no matter what they tried, you could not be deceived. That's why they hate you. That's why they fear you. That's why they now live in regret. Because when they look at you, they are reminded of their own weakness, of the power they don't have, of the control that was never real. You exposed them, not by fighting, not by arguing, not by trying to prove anything, but by simply existing in your truth. The most dangerous thing you can do to a deceiver is see them for what they truly are. And now they are left in chaos. They can't erase what has already happened. They can't undo what they have seen, what they have felt, what they now know deep inside, that their power was never real to begin with. They are trapped in their own mind, replaying the moment they lost control. They don't know what to do with the fear you left in them, the doubt that now follows them like a shadow. They don't know how to recover from meeting something that shattered their illusion of strength. Some people never fear the dark until they meet something brighter than they ever imagined. And that is what haunts them. That is what torments them. Not just that they lost control, but that they were never in control to begin with. So walk with your head high, chosen one. Let them suffer under the weight of what they tried to do. You don't need to seek revenge. Your presence alone is the justice they can never escape. The predator met something beyond its understanding. And now, they are the ones running. Keep walking, keep rising. The fear they feel now is the fear of knowing that they will never be able to forget you. Number 4, they stared into your light and saw their own shadows. They wanted to break you, but instead they shattered themselves. Chosen one, they thought they had you figured out. They had spent their entire existence mastering the art of deception, of destruction, of bending others to their will. They believed that if they pushed hard enough, if they lied long enough, if they tore at your foundation with enough force, you would crumble like all the others before you. But then, something happened. Something they never saw coming. You didn't fight the way they expected. You didn't lash out, didn't react with fear, didn't sink to their level. Instead, you stood there, calm, steady, immovable. And in that moment something shifted, because this was never about physical strength. This was never about who could throw the hardest punch or who could scream the loudest. This was about something far more powerful. This was about truth versus illusion, about energy versus manipulation, about something eternal standing against something that was always destined to fall. A shadow cannot exist in the presence of light, and you are the dawn they feared would come. They felt it. The moment they tried to come against you, something inside them broke. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Their words were supposed to cut you. Their presence was supposed to intimidate you. Their schemes were supposed to dismantle you piece by piece. But instead, they found themselves disarmed, stripped bare, exposed. They had never encountered something like you before. Every move they made against you only made them question themselves more. Every lie they spun crumbled the second it touched you. Every trick they tried failed in the presence of something they couldn't manipulate. And that's when they realized this was a battle they were never going to win. You don't fight darkness by wrestling with it. You destroy it simply by standing in the truth of who you are. And now they are haunted by what they've seen. Because, chosen one, your light didn't just repel them, it transformed them. Every moment they spent in your presence forced them to face themselves in ways they never had before. Your calm was a mirror, reflecting back to them every lie they had built their world upon. Your strength was a reminder of everything they would never become. Your refusal to break was the proof that their power was never real to begin with. That's why they're spiraling. That's why they can't find peace. Because for the first time, they were forced to see beyond their illusions, and what they saw terrified them. Some wounds aren't caused by weapons. Some wounds come from realizing the truth too late. They can't go back to who they were before they met you. That version of them no longer exists. They have looked into the fire, and now they must live with the knowledge that they never had control to begin with. They can try to run, try to rebuild, try to convince themselves that what they felt in your presence was just a passing moment. But deep down, they know the truth. You changed them. They can pretend all they want. They can keep up appearances. But at night, when they're alone with their thoughts, when there's no one left to fool, they feel it. The weight of their own emptiness. The realization that everything they thought made them powerful was nothing more than an illusion. They tried to extinguish your fire, but instead, they set themselves ablaze. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of your presence. You don't need to fight with words, don't need to prove yourself, don't need to lower your energy to match theirs. You win simply by being, because your existence alone is a disruption to everything they stand for. You don't just resist darkness, you don't just survive it, you transform it. And now they are left with only one question. Can they ever unsee what they saw in you? No, they will live with the memory of what they encountered. They will live with the knowledge that no matter how hard they tried, they could not break you. That, no matter what they did, they were never strong enough to stand against the truth of your existence. The fire they feared was never outside of them. It was inside. And now, they are the ones burning. Keep standing, chosen one. Your presence alone is the storm they can never outrun. Number 5. The predator became the prey, and now it cannot escape itself. The worst punishment is not destruction. It's being forced to face the truth. Chosen one, do you understand what you've done? You didn't just survive the attack. You turned it back on the attacker. The force that came for you, the darkness that sought to consume you, is now the one trapped. It thought it could break you, manipulate you, bend your will until you became something lesser. But instead, it was the one that changed. For the first time, it felt something it had never known: vulnerability. A weakness it cannot erase, a wound it cannot heal. The demon came to devour, to control, to destroy. But what it encountered instead was something beyond its understanding. It met a force immune to its deception, and that, chosen one, is what shattered it from the inside out. The hunter never expects to become the hunted until the moment it stares into the eyes of something stronger than itself. It expected fear. It expected submission. It expected you to crumble like the countless others it had preyed upon before. But when it stood before you, it saw no fear, no weakness, no place to sink its claws into. It saw only light, unyielding, unwavering, untouchable. And then something happened that had never happened before. It was forced to look inward, not because you fought it, not because you tried to break it, but because your presence alone was enough to strip away every illusion it had wrapped itself in. Every attempt it made to control you backfired. Every lie it spun was shattered by the truth you carried. Every attack it launched only revealed its own powerlessness. A shadow cannot consume light. It can only retreat in its presence. The realization came slowly, but painfully. It was never in control. It had spent its existence believing in its dominance, believing that it could shape others to its will. But now, it was the one unraveling. It was the one questioning itself. It was the one confronting demons it never wanted to face. Its own fears, its own flaws, its own emptiness. You did not just resist, you forced it to see itself. And that, chosen one, is the worst fate a being of darkness can endure. Because for the first time, it understands something it was never meant to know. It is not invincible. The strongest prison is not made of bars. It is the reflection of one's own truth, inescapable and unrelenting. And now, it cannot run from what it has seen. Every time it closes its eyes, it sees you. Every time it tries to return to its old ways, it hears the echoes of the moment it lost control. The power it once believed was absolute is now shattered. You didn't just defeat it, chosen one. You changed it. And now, it will never be the same again. Number 6. The earth shook and the universe took notice. When a true force enters the battlefield, even the unseen must shift to make space. Chosen one, you don't even realize the magnitude of what you've done. You thought this was just another encounter, just another battle in a long war of endurance. But what happened was far greater than that. This was never just about you and them. This was a collision of forces that sent ripples through dimensions you cannot yet see. When your light clashed with their darkness, it wasn't just a moment, it was a shift. A crack in the foundation of deception, a breach in the stronghold of manipulation. Your presence did not just shake them, it disturbed the very structure they relied on. And now, the impact spreads far beyond what you can comprehend. When a stone is thrown into still water, the ripples reach even the shores unseen. You didn't just break one enemy, you sent a message to the entire system that birthed them. Every force that ever thought it could suppress truth, control power, and bend the will of the chosen ones felt the aftershock of what you just did. This was not a silent war. This was a declaration, and the echoes of it will not fade. Because somewhere, others were watching. Others who had been standing in the shadows, unsure, afraid, uncertain if resistance was even possible. They saw what you did. They felt the shift. They recognized the moment when one light stood against the darkness and did not bow. And now, they are awakening. A single spark is all it takes to set the forest ablaze. You are that spark. This is the part your enemy never anticipated. They thought they were only facing you, only breaking you, only silencing one voice. They had no idea that you were the catalyst, the beginning of something much greater. Because now, they don't just have to deal with you. They have to deal with the countless others who saw what you did and realized. They too have power. The world is shifting. The universe is realigning. The balance that was once tipped in favor of darkness is being pulled back by those who refuse to bow. And you, chosen one, are part of that movement. Your very existence is proof that no matter how strong the illusion, no matter how deep the deception, truth will always find its way through. They thought they were untouchable, but now they tremble. Because one by one, the ones they feared most are waking up. So stand tall, keep moving. The impact of what you've done is still unfolding, still spreading, still shaking everything built to suppress you. This war is not over, but the tides have turned, and now they are the ones who fear what comes next. Number 7. The predator became prey, and now it knows the truth. It came to consume, but now it starves. It came to destroy, but now it kneels. Chosen one, listen carefully. The demon that came for you thought it was unstoppable. It believed it would dismantle you with ease, that its old tricks would work, that it would take what it wanted and leave you in ruin. That's what it has always done. Preyed on the weak, thrived in deception, feasted on fear. But this time, something shifted. This time, it met you. And suddenly, it was no longer the one in control. It could feel it, that unsettling pull, the moment its attacks started to fail. It came expecting submission, but found defiance. It came expecting fear, but found an unshakable force that did not flinch. The hunter does not fear the deer, but when the deer stands unshaken before the beast, the hunter starts to question who is truly being hunted. At first, it denied it. It raged. It twisted reality. It tried every trick, every manipulation, every weapon it had. But nothing worked. And that's when something it had never experienced before crept in: doubt. It could feel itself slipping. Its power, once absolute, now felt fragile in your presence. And then the impossible happened. It began to admire you, not because it wanted to, but because it had to. Because what you carried was unlike anything it had ever faced before. You did not fight back the way others did. You did not crumble. You did not run. You did not even acknowledge its power as something that could affect you. And that broke it. Control is the only thing that keeps darkness alive. When it loses control, it begins to wither. It started to see you differently, not as prey, but as something beyond its understanding. It realized that your strength was not something it could touch. It was not in your words, not in your actions, not in anything it could manipulate. Your strength was internal, untouchable, something it had never encountered before in any of its hunts. And that, chosen one, is what destroyed it. Because the demon never truly had power, it only had the illusion of it. And illusions only work on those who do not see. But you saw through it. And now it is the one questioning itself. Now it is the one feeling small. Now it is the one struggling to understand what just happened. There is no greater defeat than realizing your greatest weapon is useless against the one you sought to destroy. So let it struggle. Let it question everything. Let it feel the weight of its own insignificance, because the moment it crossed your path, it sealed its own fate. Walk on, chosen one. You didn't just survive the demon, you transformed it. And now it will never be the same again. Number 8. They thought they could control the fire, but they forgot you are the fire. A predator only thrives when its prey is weak. But what happens when the prey refuses to run? Chosen one, they threw everything at you: manipulation, deception, emotional warfare. Their tactics were designed to break you from the inside, to make you question your reality, to twist your mind until you became a prisoner in your own head. They had done it before, to others who didn't see it coming. They had destroyed lives with their illusions, shattered minds with their deceit. But then they met you, and suddenly their weapons became useless. They lied, but you saw through them. They attacked, but you remained unmoved. They tried to distort your reality, but your truth was too strong to bend. Every trick they used, every shadow they cast, every whisper meant to plant doubt, it all crumbled the moment it reached you. A storm cannot shake a mountain, a lie cannot destroy the truth, and no force on earth can break a soul that refuses to bow. Do you understand why this infuriated them? Why your resistance became their torment? They expected fear. They expected submission. They expected you to break like all the others before you. But instead, they found something they had never encountered before, a soul they could not control. And that terrified them. They realized something they were never prepared for. You are immune to their power. And when a manipulator loses control, when a deceiver is exposed, when a predator finds itself powerless against its target, it panics, it lashes out, it spirals, because without control it is nothing. A puppet master without strings is just another fool with empty hands. And that is exactly what happened. They unraveled before you, Not because you fought them, not because you attacked back, but because you stood firm and refused to play their game. With every failed attempt to manipulate you, they felt their own power slipping away. Their illusions stopped working. Their lies no longer had weight. Their presence became weaker and weaker. And soon, they weren't the ones controlling the situation anymore. You were. That's when the fear set in. Because now, they weren't just dealing with someone who survived their games. They were dealing with someone who could not be defeated by them at all. And nothing terrifies a manipulator more than a person who cannot be controlled. They tried to drown you, not realizing you had already learned how to breathe underwater. This is why they can't forget you. This is why their thoughts are consumed by you. Because you were supposed to be just another victim, another name in their list of conquests. Instead, you became the proof that their power was never real to begin with. And now they are left staring into the mirror, forced to face the only thing they were ever truly afraid of, their own emptiness. Walk tall, chosen one. Their games failed, and you remain untouchable. Number 9. They feared you until they understood you. Now they fear themselves. A predator is only powerful when its prey believes in fear. But what happens when the prey refuses to run? Chosen one, they are shaken, not just because you resisted, not just because you refused to fall into their traps, but because you saw through them. You looked directly at what they were, past the masks, past the lies, past the illusions they crafted to keep you blind. And in that moment, they knew they had no power over you. You weren't like the others, the ones they manipulated, controlled, bent to their will. No, you were something else entirely. They used to thrive on deception, on fear, on confusion, keeping their victims trapped in uncertainty. But you didn't flinch. You didn't question yourself. You stood in front of their carefully constructed illusion and tore it apart with a single glance. A lie only works when it goes unchallenged. And you, chosen one, were the challenge they never prepared for. It was in that moment they felt something they never had before. Doubt. Doubt in their own strength, in their own control, in the very darkness they thought made them invincible. Because if you could see through them, if you could strip away the shadows and expose them for what they truly were, then what were they really? Monsters are only terrifying in the dark, but once the lights come on, all you see are cowards wearing masks. And that's exactly what you did. You flipped the switch. You took away the power they had built through manipulation, through intimidation. You forced them to see themselves, not as powerful beings, not as rulers of their domain, but as something far weaker, exposed, vulnerable, nothing more than echoes of fear they projected onto others. They thought your strength would come from outside forces. They expected you to rely on something external, something they could dismantle, weaken, control. But what they discovered was something far worse. Your strength came from within. It was not borrowed, not given, not dependent on anything they could take away. A storm that rises from within can never be stolen, never be stopped, never be tamed. And that is why they are afraid. Because they cannot break you. They cannot manipulate you. They cannot bend you to their will. The very foundation of their existence is built on deception, and you shattered it with truth. They tried everything, whispers of doubt, shadows of fear, the weight of manipulation, but none of it worked. You saw past it all. You stripped them of their power without even lifting a finger. They tried to play a game they had mastered, only to realize they had stepped onto a battlefield they were never meant to survive. And now they, are the ones left questioning everything. The final shift has occurred. They are not in control anymore. You are. The fear they once used against others, now it consumes them. The lies they built their world upon, now they crumble beneath their feet. The illusions they so carefully crafted, now nothing more than shattered glass at your feet. Keep walking, chosen one. They are not running from you anymore. They are running from the truth you forced them to face. Number 10. They looked into your fire and saw their own reflection burning. A predator never questions its nature until it meets prey that refuses to run. They were built for destruction, wired for deception, designed to manipulate, control, and consume. It was all they ever knew. And then you came along, something they had never encountered before. You didn't flinch, didn't break, didn't bow like the others before you. Instead, you stood, unwavering, untouchable. And in that moment, something shifted. For the first time in their existence, they hesitated. It started small, an unease creeping into their mind, a doubt they had never entertained before. They had always believed in their power, in their ability to break, to dominate, to destroy. But now, they were looking at you, and none of their usual weapons seemed to work. Your presence alone disrupted them. Your existence forced them to face something they had spent their entire life avoiding, the truth of who they really were. A liar can fool the world, but they can never escape the mirror. They were created for chaos, programmed to consume light without question. But standing before you, they felt something foreign, something they had never experienced before. Uncertainty. You made them question their own purpose, their own nature, their own lies. And nothing is more terrifying to a deceiver than the moment they realize they too have been deceived. This is what you do, chosen one. You don't fight them, you expose them. You don't need weapons. Your presence alone is the battlefield. They expected resistance, anger, retaliation. But what they got was worse. They got a reflection of themselves they could not escape. The strongest prison isn't made of walls, it's made of self-awareness. For the first time, they were trapped, not by you, but by themselves. They tried to dismiss it, tried to shake it off, but the doubt kept growing. Why wasn't their control working? Why did they feel powerless in front of you? What was it about you that made their own identity feel fragile? And that's when it hit them. You were never the one in danger. They were. The fire they thought would consume you has only set them ablaze from within. You didn't just expose them to the world, you exposed them to themselves. And that is a pain they cannot run from. It's an infection that spreads, a disease that rots them from the inside. Because once someone sees their own darkness for what it truly is, they can never unsee it. They can never go back to the lie they once lived in so comfortably. You didn't fight them, chosen one. You forced them to fight themselves. And that is the battle they will never win. Number 11. They came to destroy you, but instead they were forced to bow. The greatest defeat is not losing a battle, it's realizing you were never the one in control to begin with. They came with one mission: to break you, to manipulate you, to strip you of your power and leave you as nothing but a shadow of yourself. But something happened that they never expected, something that shattered every illusion they had about control, power, and dominance. They didn't destroy you. You changed them, and that is their greatest torment. A storm never fears the wind, but the trees that stand before it must learn to bend or be broken. They walked into your presence thinking they were the storm. They thought their influence, their tricks, their games would unravel you. They expected to pull your strings like they had done with so many before. But instead, they found themselves standing before something that did not bend, did not waver, did not crumble. And that terrified them, because for the first time they felt something they had never encountered before, a force beyond their control. They weren't used to that. They thrived on being the puppeteer, on calling the shots, on dictating the game. But when they met you, the game changed. And then came the worst part for them. It wasn't anger they felt toward you. It wasn't even hatred. It was something far more dangerous to their entire existence: admiration. There is nothing more terrifying to an enemy than realizing they are standing in the presence of something greater than themselves. Every attack they threw at you only served to expose their own weakness. Every attempt to manipulate you only reflected their own emptiness. Every move they made to break you only revealed how fragile they truly were. And somewhere along the way, something inside them shifted. They stopped seeing you as a target and started seeing you as something they could never be. That is why they can never forget you. That is why they still feel the pull toward you, why your energy still lingers in their thoughts. Because deep down, they know meeting you was never just about you. It was about something much bigger. Some encounters aren't battles, they are lessons the universe forces upon those who refuse to see the truth. They were sent to destroy you, but in the process, they were the ones transformed. They wanted to take your power, but instead, they were made to recognize it. And now, they live with the unshakable reality that they stood before something far greater than themselves. And, instead of conquering it, they were humbled by it. Chosen one, your presence alone rewrites the rules. Keep walking, keep rising, because even your enemies must acknowledge the power that they could never contain. Number 12. They set out to destroy you, but instead, they destroyed themselves. A sword that strikes unbreakable steel will only shatter itself. They came for you with full force, certain of their power, confident in their ability to tear you apart. They had done it before, to others, to the weak, to those who never saw the blade coming. But then they met you, and suddenly everything they thought they knew was a lie, because you didn't break, you didn't fall, you didn't crumble beneath the weight of their attacks. Instead, something happened that they never saw coming. They were the ones who began to crack. At first, they ignored it. They told themselves that you were just another target, another obstacle to crush underfoot. But deep inside, they felt it. The shift, the discomfort, the creeping realization that something was wrong, that you were different, that their usual tactics, their weapons, their manipulations had no effect on you. The fire they set to consume you only illuminated their own darkness. And that's when the fear set in. Not just fear of you, but fear of themselves. Fear of what your presence was awakening within them. Because for the first time, they were forced to confront the truth they had spent their entire existence avoiding. You see, they weren't just fighting you, they were fighting their own reflection in you. Every time they tried to wound you, they saw their own scars. Every time they tried to break you, they felt the weight of their own brokenness. And every time they tried to destroy you, they realized it was never you they were battling. It was the emptiness inside them. A shadow only exists where there is light, and your light forced them to see their own darkness. That's why they couldn't just walk away. That's why they obsessed over you, why they kept coming back, why they couldn't stand to let you be. Because you had become something they both hated and needed, a mirror that showed them everything they were too afraid to face. And in trying to defeat you, they started to unravel. It didn't happen all at once. At first it was just a flicker of doubt, a whisper of uncertainty. But with every encounter, every clash with your unshakable presence, the cracks deepened. The lies they told themselves no longer sounded convincing. The identity they clung to began to feel hollow. The mask they wore started to slip, and underneath it, they found nothing but emptiness. They thought they were the predator, but the real battle was always within them. You didn't fight them, Chosen One. You exposed them. And that is a war they never knew how to win. Keep walking. Keep shining. The ones who tried to destroy you are now drowning in the very truth they ran from. Number 13. They went to war with you and lost to themselves. A warrior who fights the truth only ends up wounding himself. They came at you like they always did, full of arrogance, convinced of their own power. They had won so many battles before, crushed so many souls, left so many in ruins. They thought this would be no different, but what they failed to realize was that you were not like the others. The moment they crossed paths with you, something shifted. The rules they lived by no longer applied. Their weapons, the lies, the manipulation, the control, suddenly felt useless in the presence of someone who saw through everything. And that's when they made their biggest mistake. Instead of walking away, instead of admitting defeat, they doubled down. They came at you harder, more viciously, desperate to prove to themselves that they still had power. But every attack, every attempt to destroy you, only exposed one thing. They were fighting a battle they were never meant to win. A storm cannot drown the ocean, and darkness cannot swallow the sun. At first, they told themselves you were just lucky, that they would break you eventually. But with every encounter, their certainty began to crack. Why weren't you falling apart like the others? Why weren't you crumbling under pressure? Why did you stand there, unshaken, while their own foundation started to collapse? That's when the real war began, the war within themselves. You see, they had spent their whole lives running from their own reflection. Everything they did was an attempt to avoid seeing the truth about who they really were. But you were a mirror they could not escape. Every time they tried to break you, they saw their own brokenness. Every time they tried to weaken you, they felt their own emptiness. Every time they tried to destroy you, they felt themselves unraveling instead. The sword they raised against you was never meant for you. It was always aimed at their own soul. And now they are left with nothing but the wreckage of their own delusions. They set out to make you question yourself. But now they are the ones drowning in doubt. They tried to erase you, but now they are haunted by the memory of what they could not erase. They thought they were in control, but now they are consumed by a war they started and could never win. Because the truth is simple, they never stood a chance against you. Keep walking, Chosen One. Let them sit in the ruins of the battle they brought upon themselves. Their war is over and you have already won. And now, Chosen One, the truth stands clear. They waged war against you, but in the end, they only destroyed themselves. Their downfall was never your burden. It was the inevitable price of their own deception. You were never the victim. You were the test they failed. Now, walk forward with power, knowing their regret will echo forever. If this message spoke to you, show the universe you're awake. Like this video, subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments. And most importantly, share this message. Let every chosen one hear the call. The awakening is here. Let the truth spread.